the left-hand side, it is Harlan Fearer going to be taking on William Waters playing Gruul aggro. I realize we have those arrows on the modern match. We're not showing you modern. We want to watch standard. Get those arrows in the right place. Straighten it up.
You're so demanding on coverage.
I know.
Like you're so polite in person, and then you get here and you're just, get this off my screen. Get those arrows where they want to be.
I'm just a nightmare to deal with.
You're a
I
tyrant.
also demand only blue M&Ms in all the M&Ms around the broadcasting area.
Has anyone told you in your entire life that you're not Prince?
Yes, but I don't.
Like,
I don't listen to them when they say that. I refuse to acknowledge that possibility.
All right.
Pelt Collector going to be the start for William Waters. Love to see that one from the Gruul aggro deck. 10 mountains, 10 forests, 4 stomping ground. The perfect mana base. What could go wrong? And there you see Forest Mountain, just how we drew it up.
Look, you have a plan, and it's not having your lands come into play tapped.
That's true. I can't argue with that.
Plan's good. Stick to the plan. 14 green sources, 14 red sources, all of them untapped.
Seems perfect. And the perfect beats are coming from William Waters. Harlan already down to 16.
And these Pelt Collector starts are just night and day different from the draws they don't have it. This is putting Walters in a great spot.
Yeah, this is where this deck absolutely shines. Going to play a tap Stomping Ground is Walters. Harlan at the ready with Scorching Dragonfire. That, a common sideboard card for the Team of Reclamation decks, doesn't often make it to the main. That's the big adaptation we see from Harlan's list. 2 copies, I believe.
Right, really, really respecting Phoenix of Ash this weekend.
Smart. I think it's smart. There's 2 decks I really had my eye on coming into this weekend. It was Team of Reclamation and Mono Red Aggro. Speaking to the team of Harvey, Jones, and Fearer, specifically Dom Harvey, he and I talked a little bit this week. We were both high on Team of Rec. He was asking, do you think you can get the red matchup to a reasonable place? I said, absolutely. All the tools are there. You just have to do it. And you see, they have done it.
Speaking of tools for aggro decks, how do you feel about an Uro on turn 3?
That's a good one. Specifically given the amount of pressure that Walters has generated thus far, and the fact that he skipped his 3-drop last turn, looks pretty good. But here we see a Lovestruck Beast. Does appear he drew that now. But a fine draw to come off the top.
Oh, yeah. Is certainly better than what he had last turn.
I will say, though, Harlan ready with a bunch of answers to this. Also can just further his main game plan. It's Wilderness Reclamation. Going to untap. Has access to Brazen Borrower. Also has Storm's Wrath in hand. That new sweeper from Theros Beyond Death. How does Harlan want to navigate this combat step from William Walters? So we're just going to bounce the token in combat. Want to keep that Lovestruck Beast from rumbling in. Makes sense to me. Harlan going to get to head to his next turn with a bunch of mana available, thanks to that Wilderness Reclamation. Zyrtar Goblin beats down, brings Harlan down to 9. Follow-up play of Paradise Druid.
I'm starting to think the question might not be how much mana he has, but how much Fear can actually do with his mana.
Yeah, is a little instant choked, I guess I would say. Everything is happening at sorcery speed right now. Also, critically, no Castle Vantress on the battlefield, which is a great way to leverage that mana. In fact, my Team of Rec list starting to trend up to 3 copies. I think it's so important for the archetype.
Right, just making sure that you have things to do with your mana all the time is critical.
Walters, though, not able to get all that much going. Just passes the turn back to Harlan. Here's an Uro. Going to gain some more life, possibly make an extra land drop. Also found the Castle Vantress.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah, and now you're going to see just what a difference having this card makes versus not having it. All of Harlan's mana are going to be able to be utilized, and answers are going to flow to the top of the deck very quickly. Domri's Ambush going to take out Brazen Borrower. Probably not much else to do with that card, although Uro's a coming at some point. Scry 2 happening from Castle Vantris. 2 good ones, Brazen Borrower, Growth Spiral. Not exactly what we're looking for right now. Might just pass on them. So I don't hate Growth Spiral as a way to get Uro going.
Right, exactly. I really like Growth Spiral in this spot because it does actually give you an out to start recurring your Uros, which Fear doesn't really have at the moment.
Sure. It's like 1 top, 1 bottom. I'm assuming the Borrower... Wait. Both bottom?
Believe that was a both bottom.
Okay. Yeah, looks like it. Thassa's Intervention?
Well... that's a way to find something.
It is. Yeah, that'll certainly unlock the Uro eventually, but also give Harlan a lot of safety here. Also going to get a mid-Wilderness Reclamation Resolution Thassa's Intervention. So still going to have untapped mana on his turn. Omen of the Sea, one of the finds, able to leverage that one. This deck just snowballs games so quickly. And not in the traditional way. It just finds so many pieces, which leads to the next piece, which leads to more mana. And before you know it, the window is shut.
Yeah, I think Fear just picked up a land and an expansion explosion. That's lethal next turn.
Sure, sounds good to me.
That is actually 17 points. Harlan just going, hey, all right, does this gain you life right now?
I actually don't know what card that is. 3 mana.
Klothys.
That was the Klothys?
It's the fancy Klothys.
Oh, look at that. Okay. I don't know if I've seen that one yet.
Oh, it is gorgeous.
Very pretty. I mean, completely meaningless, but very pretty. A lot of damage.
You know, you can just let Fear kill Walters. You don't have to get in on it.
Oh, I do. Gonna contribute my 2 cents every time. Oh, it looks like we're just playing Uro here. Okay. I don't know specifically what could go wrong.
There's no real reason not to play it safe at this point. I imagine that's just Fear thinks that's the way this game spirals, is if Walters has some card that's able to make himself unable to be targeted or something to that effect, and then Klothys exiles an Uro, and then things just get out of hand from there.
I'm racking my brain for the card. I haven't found it yet, but ultimately I highly doubt it ends up mattering. Bunch of mana now going to be floated. Looks like we're going to just go ahead and explosion on that Lovestruck Beast. Bunch of cards. Going to head to Harlan's hand. It's just so hard for anything to go wrong at this point.
Oh, yeah, this is certainly the point where it's not even a matter of how does someone win this game. It's how does Fear find a way to lose this game.
Absolutely. Speaking of losses, Dom Harvey just picked up one. Nicholas Wall on burn takes game 1 from Dom Harvey over in the modern fisticuff. So someone put forth the very reasonable.
No.
The very reasonable,
no,
I have to admit.
No, you don't. You really don't, because it's a fisticuff. It's out of our hands.
Okay. Modern fisticuff. You got to give the people what they want, Emma, and the people want fisticuffs. Meanwhile, in the standard fisticuff, here is an Embercleave, the least scary Embercleave in the history of Embercleaves.
Sometimes you just want to F6, and I can respect it. This is just Walter's way of saying, look, if you can kill me, will you just,
Just put me out of my misery.
Yeah.
Make it happen. Well, there's Explosion off the top, so now he can kill you. Start with an Uro attack. Why not? Result from the Pioneer fisticuff. Kevin Jones up a game. 1-0 in the Dimir Inverter Mirror. Going to be a lot of that one floating around. Harlan's going to go ahead, flash that explosion, and that is going to get the concession from William Walters. Harlan Fear up a game. Two fisticuffs headed the way of the team of Harvey, Jones, and Fear thus far. Why don't we go ahead and take a look at our sideboards? And here's a big pickup for this Temur Reclamation deck. I feel like I keep saying that. The Nightback Ambusher plan, in conjunction with the addition of Thassa's Intervention, means you very easily shift to a flash-style game plan in post-board games. I don't think you're going to do it here, but in matchups where you traditionally have a really hard time leaning on that traditional Temur Reclamation plan, this is a really nice new wrinkle for this deck.
Yeah, absolutely. There's even a point where in a matchup like this one, you could even see Nightpack Ambusher just being a 4-mana 4/4, which is quite strong against a lot of the things that we'll see Walters bringing to the table.
Yeah, that sounds reasonable to me. The rest of the cards in the sideboard, you see 4 Aether Gust, 3 Mystical Dispute, 2 Scorching Dragonfire, a Negate, and a Disdainful Stroke. What else are you looking to grab here?
So really the big things that I'm looking at is just these Aether Gusts, these Dragonfires, things that are removal and kind of breaking down what Walters can try and play. There comes a point where you try to create a situation against a smaller aggro deck where you could ignore a couple of their small cards, their Zertaw Goblins, the 1/1 token from a Lovestruck Beast, things like that, and take a few hits to the chin while you just build up your own resources, and eventually they're attacking for 3 or 5 and you're casting expansion or explosion rather for 10, 12 or 30.
Yeah, you make what they're doing pretty insignificant very quickly.
Exactly.
Over on Walter's side, we are looking at 3 Shifting Ceratops, 3 Mystic Repeal, 2 Domri's Ambush, 2 Shock, 2 the Akroan War, 2 Sorceress Spyglass, and a solitary Bone Crusher Giant. I look at this sideboard, and I am concerned for Walters. I don't know exactly how he can meaningfully shift in this spot. Obviously, there's some spot answers. What do you like over on Walters' side?
So I think for the most part, all we're really going to see come in that much is Shifting Ceratops here. You can make a case for Mystic Repeal, because you can just get Fear if he overcommits into a Wilderness Reclamation turn, and that is effectively a time walk a lot of the time. But I don't really think you want to be leaning too hard into those cards, and you mostly just want to be trying to apply pressure by shaving some of your interactive spells. If we see Mystic Repeal come in, it's going to be in place of things like Domri's Ambush.
Right. It's hard. You need to maintain your ability to stay aggressive, and you want to have some interaction. You don't want to just let the Temur Reclamation deck do its thing unchecked. But I know Reclamation closed the game. It wasn't the reason Harlan won that game, though. And it would have been a much more arduous game going forward, but you can see scenarios where he could have just had a bunch of removal, played an Uro, and that might have carried the day.
Sure, that's certainly a point, but there's also the point where Wilderness Reclamation unlocked Castle Vantress, which allowed him to find the other cards he needed. So if we saw Walter, say, tag an early copy of Wilderness Reclamation instead of in the later turns, it could have ended up buying him a little bit of extra time to get that Embercleave online, which is worth an absurd amount of damage just on a single attack. So when you start looking at multiple attacks, that's just absolutely bananas.
No, very good point. I'll tell you, it has been a lot of fun figuring this standard format out. And, of course, part of figuring out every new standard format is checking in with our guys on Versus Live. There you see Corey Baumeister, Ross Merriam, every Tuesday and Thursday, 1 p.m. Eastern. They go to war. Sometimes it's standard, sometimes it's modern, sometimes it's pioneer, sometimes they just make up formats. We let them do whatever they want. But they are there every Tuesday and Thursday, 1 p.m. Eastern time. I know you're an occasional guest over in the Versus Live studio. You planning on making it back there anytime this year?
I think you could likely see me there around the upcoming SCG Con. That's when I'm most frequently finding myself in the studio, fighting for the marbles, as it were.
Now, if you took the marbles, were you able to just take them away from the Versus Live studio forever? Is that it?
So it's complicated. Basically, when I played against Todd Anderson, we tied.
Okay.
So it felt in poor taste for me to take them. And then when I played against Ross, I think Ross actually beat me and kept the marbles. So I haven't figured it out, but I'm pretty confident if I were to just walk out with the marbles, they couldn't stop me.
Right.
Like I could just do that, you know?
Yeah, I like that plan.
maybe next time I'll lose and pick up the marbles and go.
Sure. Just steal them blatantly.
Yeah, oh yeah, this, you know what? This is my check.
I like it. You could also just, like, go get your own marbles. Just so you know.
Well, yeah, those are my marbles. That's the thing is I'm already there. It's
Right.
convenient.
Right.
I don't want to have to take a whole trip to the marble store to get marbles.
Right. And the marble store, I mean, assuming you're doing this on a Tuesday or Thursday, which is when Versus Live happens, marble store is packed on Tuesdays and Thursdays. It's
yeah, like you'd
big
think
marble
it's a
time.
dying industry, but
No.
it was, but now there's only one store left, and it's just
Right.
wall to wall. Just a nightmare to get in and out. Parking, no. No, I'm just going to take them from Corey and Russ.
Does the game Marbles still exist?
I mean, does anything exist?
Well, now
Really?
we're getting real deep. I don't know
It's
if I'm
more
prepared
like,
to answer that one.
Do any games really exist? Like we're calling these things fisticuffs.
Right.
I don't know.
So your point is, if you want it to be there, it is.
Yeah, we can pop out front. I'll draw a circle in the dirt. We can
Right.
go to the marble store.
There's probably a dedicated marbles community somewhere. I mean, we're here
Oh,
calling
they've
games
got
of
it.
Magic the Gathering, so we know that these niche communities can certainly come together.
That's not even top 5 weirdest conventions that I've
for
seen
sure.
next to a Magic tournament.
For sure. Mom Prom is coming to Richmond in a few weeks, I saw.
Huh.
Yeah. How about that? Ether Gust from Harlan Fear. Going to go ahead and pop that Shifting Ceratops back to William Walters' hand. I like that play. Even with that Storm right in hand, ready to answer Ceratops, slow down Walters a little bit. Make him repeat that play on the next turn.
Yeah, I actually like the line here because it forces him to do it again this turn, so you just know when you have this sweeper rolled up that you're forcing Kohl to commit something into it.
Right. Now, that does assume fourth land is available to Fear, but I think it is. I think I see it in hand. Is going to be able to get an attack in with that Ceratops. One more mana on this turn, able to give it haste via the Paradise Druid. Harlan, though, good utilization of his mana. Going to go ahead and cast Omen of the Sea. Another huge get for this Temur Reclamation deck. And now, 4 mana at the ready. Going to take 2 from Stomping Ground to do it, but it's Storm's Wrath, and that is going to clear the battlefield on Walter's side. This Temur Rec deck lines up really well against what Gruul Aggro is doing. A big part of it is Storm's Wrath, having a sweeper at 4 toughness as opposed to just 3 toughness. Really catches all their stuff cleanly.
Yeah, it just completely changes the dynamic of what's going on in so many situations.
So Williams got to put together his follow-up play. It's going to be a Paradise Druid. And a Bone Crusher Giant going to head on adventure. Harlan falls to 11. Last card in Walter's hand. Solitary Bone Crusher Giant. And Harlan seems set up with a lot of answers here. Let's see if Walters can piece together some offense. Dominic Harvey did tie up the Modern Fisticuffs at a game apiece. Not even saying it ironically anymore. I just love it.
Oh yeah.
I'm just hard committed at this
Oh
point.
yeah. Our brains are certainly irony poisoned enough to. I buy that.
Yep. So that crucial second ability on Omen of the Sea, paying 3 mana, sacrificing Scrying 2, finds Nightpack Ambusher on the top of the deck. So we know that came in. Much to your point, that card possibly able to invalidate multiples on Walter's side should it get going. Harlan thinking about how to set these cards up.
And the nice thing about this castle is it's a painless untapped land. So I could certainly see the case for it here.
Sure. Looks like we bottomed, and instead we're going to take 2 from the Steam Vents. Time for another Storm's Wrath. Battlefield cleared once more. I think we might have picked up a Clothis, possibly. There it is. I recognize it now. Klothys going to come down, and that is a meaningful clock. Harlan going to go ahead and Ether Gust that, send that back to the top of the library immediately.
I mean, it makes sense, right? It's a 3-turn clock, even if it never attacks.
Right. It's back. Surprise. And now, Thassa's intervention at the ready. Bone Crusher Giant is going to be able to come down, but this game extremely well navigated by Harlan Furrer.
Ooh.
And now William Walters has no creatures on the battlefield, none on adventure, no cards in hand, living off the top of the battlefield. Harlan Furrer going to go ahead and deploy that Omen of the Sea. And is that an Uro on top of the deck? Because that'll seal the deal if it is.
Leaving both cards sounds great when the land comes into play for free.
Yeah, here comes Uro. Harlan going to go back up to 8. Comfortable enough to shock. Pretty obvious why. Uro's going to stay on the battlefield this time, bring a little bit more life with it, a little bit more cards.
So many life changes, 5 to 8, down to 6, up to 9.
Right. And it's been a fluid total, but ultimately headed Harlan's way, I think. Zertog Goblin going to pick up a counter. I don't want to be repetitive with this theme of, oh my God, Temur Reclamation has gotten it all. But it really has. Like, think about the game plans you now have access to compared to what this deck was previously. And it was an okay deck. Like, it was very clearly not tier 1, but it was floating around the realm of viability.
Sure.
And now, we might just have a monster on our hands. Speaking of monsters, Nightpack Ambusher going to come down, gobble up that Zertog Goblin. And now the clock is ticking for William Walters. Going to take 10 big damage as Harlan gains 3 more, gets to play a land. This one is all but over. Ambusher going to go ahead and trigger. Going to see a grip of 3 lands, and that is going to get the handshake, and Harlan Furrer takes down the standard fisticuffs 2-0 over William Walters. Impressive stuff.
Yeah, and that's a spot where, sure, Walters had lands at the end, but even if those were spells, it's hard to imagine it coming back when Furrer had, 4 or 5 answers in his hand, including not even counting the Uro and the Ambusher on the table.
Right. Just an incredible battlefield presence generated so quickly. Good removal up and down the curve. Good stuff from Temur Reclamation. We'll get another match of Magic queued up for you. How about we head over to the Modern seat?
Hey, look, the arrows are there now. Do you like it?
Yes.
Is that acceptable?
Well-placed arrows. Good job, team. See Patrick Sullivan down there directing traffic like a true ring general. And it looks like we're going to catch this one at the start of the game. Pretty excited about that. Do have some mulligan issues, though, to report. Nicholas Wall down to just 4 cards. One of them is a Monastery Swiftspear, and it's attacking on turn 1. That's nice.
Well?
Dom says, not so fast, friend. Radiant Fountain. Back to 21 is Dom Harvey. Take a look at Nicholas Wall's deck over on Cardboard Live. This is a more traditional build of Burn. I really like the setup for the Prowess decks coming into this weekend, specifically the Killed Fiend-based ones. I think it is Killed Fiend's time to shine. You just want a big clock. You want it fast. You really want to punish these Primeval Titan decks. Nicholas taking a little bit slower, more traditional approach, though.
Yeah, one of the nice things about this version of the deck is it is a little bit better against some of the disruptive elements that you can see people trying to bring in order to fight the Primeval Titan decks.
Good point.
And that's certainly an attractive angle.
Dom with every Amulet player's favorite start against the mono red deck. Radiant Fountain turn 1, turn 2 bounce land.
What do you pick up with the bounce land?
So many choices. How many Radiant Fountains do you think Dom will play throughout this game?
One.
Well, one copy. How many times do you think it'll come onto the battlefield? He may have a second copy in his sideboard. I've seen occasional second copies floating around. He does. Sideboard Radiant Fountain. Wait, does he have one in the main deck, or is this just in now? He does. 2 copies of Radiant Fountain for Dom Harvey.
Some people just know.
It makes a big difference. It really changes the matchup.
Oh, absolutely.
It's just a question of whether you can find the sideboard space. Dom's going to cast his first spell of the match somehow, despite being at 21 life and gaining 4. It's Once Upon a Time. That means it's free, and if it's free, it is me, Emma. I don't know if you know that about me. Big fan of the free spells.
Oh, I thought that was a reference.
No.
Honestly,
it is.
it's pretty catchy.
Actually, you know where I heard that the first time?
Heard it?
It is in season 1 of Weeds, which is not a show I actually watched, but my wife did watch it. And I remembered that at some point a character said that, and I was like, I really like that phrase. And I stole it. Now y'all know.
Wow. Wow.
Producer Travis informed me that he just canceled his Patreon subscription to my podcast, so I guess I shouldn't have given that one up quite so freely.
Yeah, honestly, you really need to keep like the plagiarism in the paywalled Discord.
Yeah, let them know.
Which is better business.
I agree. I'm an honest person, Emma.
Yeah. Okay.
An honest Magic card, Azusa. Honestly putting 2 extra lands onto the battlefield somehow.
Oof.
Swift Spear's going to try and beat down. Dom says, I could block here,
you know
but
what?
why
As a
bother?
matter of fact, I'm at 20.
Life total seems pretty safe for Dom Harvey. Here's Windswept Heath going to come down. I have a scary feeling this is going to grab a second green source, and you know what happens when you get your second green source. It's prime time. Primeval Titan for Dom Harvey. Maybe we'll see that second Radiant Fountain.
It's time for Vesuva Bounce Land.
Yeah, that works too. Double Bounce Land is the play.
Love to bounce.
It's to ensure some more action on the next turn. Transmute Talaria West. Play a bunch of Radiant Fountains. Everything coming up Dom Harvey right now. Does scoop those 2 cards as expected. Redeploys Radiant Fountain, still at 21 life.
This is like running a race in quicksand.
Yeah, I think that's a good way of putting it. And Azusa going to attack. Get in there, girl. Do your thing.
Baba Booey.
Love seeing that. A little Azusa-based aggression is what I'm here for. Lava Spike you. You're at 18. What are you going to do about that, Dom Harvey?
Go to 16.
Yeah, you are. What's your plan now? Oh, additional Primeval Titan? Yeah, I guess that's a pretty good plan.
I think Wall is dead. Literally at 0 life.
Okay.
Do you have the mana to, you just need, I guess 12, so maybe you don't. Basically, the thought here is you can transmute for a Summoner's Pact.
Well, hold on. This one has to make...
Oh yeah, super lethal now.
Yeah. This should about do it. Now every land that comes down will deal 3. And there you see a transmitted Talaria West. 3 damage to that Swift Spear. Here's Wear Tear. It's going to answer Dryad.
Does the Swift Spear still go away if there aren't 5 mountains on the Valakut's Resolution?
That's a good question. We will pose that. We will pose that to our table judge, get that squared away. So judges are going to explore that.
I know used to it was a weird ruling.
Yeah, something about Valakut is very unintuitive to me consistently. Every time I think I have my finger on the pulse of exactly how Valakut works in all situations, something else comes and screws up my understanding of it.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not confident the 1-2 with prowess is going to do a ton in the face of a 6-6,
Correct.
but
Correct.
it's unlikely it's doing nothing.
Agreed. Now Summoner's Pact is going to resolve. Going to get Primeval Titan. Going to bring a couple lands with it. And I think Nicholas is out of cards in hand, which not a great spot to be in against Primeval Titan. Radiant Fountain coming back. Second copy. Dom has gained 162 life this game, solely off Radiant Fountains. Not bad. Nicholas Wall going to take a draw. They haven't invented the card that can save you in this situation, unfortunately, Nicholas. Dom's going to pay for his pact. Has Talaria West at the ready, can use that to go make a Dryad of the Elysian Grove. That'll make a Primeval Titan attack 100% lethal if you wanted to.
Is Dom running out of bounce lands?
The number has steadily decreased in these decks, but he should have 8 bare minimum. These aren't like the blue-green Titan setups where you just have the 4 bounce lands. They still play Gruul Turf, Simic, Growth Chamber in most instances. So it looks like we weren't messing around. We just got second Titan.
Oh, if we have the Valakut on tap, that means we can get Hanweir Garrison, and a bounce land to just haste it all up.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good. There is Hanweir Garrison. Dom's going to return that to hand, replay it. Now it's a hasty Titan. It's all pretty academic here. There's probably a bunch of ways Dom can go about it. I think I agree this is like the safest, nothing can go wrong way to do it.
See, there are two kinds of people, because you're over here saying it's academic, and I feel like I'm watching a magic show.
Okay.
Not a Magic the Gathering show, but, you know, like magic tricks where someone just waves their hands a bunch, and I just go, you know, I understand the mechanics of what is happening, but I don't know if I could ever make those cards do that.
Okay. I think Titan has an aura of mystique around it, and in some ways it's earned. There are some incredibly complicated spots. 90% of the time, Primeval Titan is so powerful that you can do whatever you want, Emma. Just cast your cards randomly and you'll probably win. I am confident you could pilot it to a very high degree of success.
Oh, thanks.
You're welcome. Dom puts down his 13th Radiant Fountain of the game. At 22 life is Dom Harvey. Nicholas says, oh yeah? Attack for 1. Boros Charm. Gotcha. Boom. And that is going to get the handshake for Dominic Harvey. Takes down this modern fisticuffs 2-1. And that means the team of Harvey, Jones, and Fear moves on to 4-0. Harlan's so enthused he's already left.